Welcome to Astrid's Tales, and this is today's story.
My parents just handed my brother the keys to a 5-bedroom house they don't actually own. They stood on the porch, popping champagne, and toasted to his bright future, while calling me selfish for not bringing a gift. What they don't know is that for the last 7 years, I've been the only thing keeping the bank from seizing that front door. I just logged into the portal and hit cancel autopay in 48 hours. The GoldenChild is going to find out that his inheritance is actually a 6-figure debt. Am I the asshole for finally letting them live in the world I've been quietly funding for them? To understand my actions, you must first understand the family ecosystem I grew up in. It was a delicate balance, a system with unspoken rules and carefully assigned roles. My brother Leo was the sun around which our family universe orbited. He is, and always has been, a professional dreamer. Now 32, Leo has collected 3 degrees in philosophy, art history, and sustainable agriculture, of which he has ever used in a professional capacity. His resume is a patchwork of short-lived gigs, each ending for a similar reason. The management, the corporate culture, or the general vibe did not align with his boundless yet unproductive energy. I, on the other hand, was cast in the role of the reliable one. I was the quiet, steady planet in a predictable orbit. While Leo was crashing cars and exploring his creative potential, I was securing scholarships and working night shifts to pay for my textbooks. While he was blowing his savings on a doomed artisanal kombucha startup, I was building a career. In my parents' eyes, this stark contrast didn't signify a difference in work ethic. It signified a difference in need. My reliability meant I was self-sufficient, a closed system requiring no external support. Leo's perpetual state of crisis meant he was sensitive and in constant need of a safety net. Their mantra, repeated so often it became a dull, throbbing ache in my childhood, was, "You're strong, you'll always be fine." But Leo needs us. I spent years trying to earn their praise, not realizing that my competence was the very thing that made me invisible to them. "You'll be fine" wasn't a compliment. It was a release, a justification for their focused neglect. It was code for, "We're going to ignore you until we need something." That something arrived 7 years ago, not as a request, but as a full-blown crisis. The phone call that changed everything came on a Tuesday afternoon. My father, then 58, had been a victim of a massive corporate downsizing. He was a proud man who had spent his entire adult life at one company, and the layoff shattered his identity. He was too young for retirement, but in the unforgiving landscape of the modern job market, too old to be considered a valuable asset. The severance package was meager, and his pride prevented him from seeking lower-paying work. My mother's voice on the phone was a fractured, desperate sob. They were 3 months behind on the mortgage of our childhood home. The house itself was more than just wood and nails. It was a family heirloom built by my grandfather's own hands. It was the backdrop to every memory, every holiday, every scraped knee, and celebratory dinner. The thought of a foreclosure sign on that lawn was unbearable. "They're going to take it, OP!" she cried, her voice cracking. "Everything we've ever worked for. We're going to be homeless." She never asked for money directly. She didn't have to. The story was the request. At 25, I was just beginning to find my footing in a high-paying tech career. I had my own apartment, a growing savings account, and a deeply ingrained hero complex forged from years of being the reliable one. This was my chance to finally prove my worth, to be the hero my family needed, to earn the title of GoldenChild that had always been Leo's birthright. I drove to their house that evening. My father sat at the kitchen table, staring at a pile of unopened, red-stamped envelopes, his shoulders slumped in defeat. I laid out a plan. "I will pay the mortgage," I told him, my voice steady, betraying the frantic beating of my heart, "and the property taxes, the insurance, everything. I'll set up a holding company to make the payments so Mom doesn't have to feel any shame. You just keep living here. Tell her you worked out a deferment plan with the bank. When you're back on your feet, or when the time comes, we'll formally put the house in my name. It stays in the family. It stays safe." My father looked up, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. He took my hand, his grip surprisingly strong. "You're our guardian angel," he whispered. "You've saved us." He signed a private memorandum of understanding. I had drafted a simple document outlining our agreement. Notarized by a friend, It wasn't an ironclad legal contract, but it was a promise between a father and a son. At that moment, holding that piece of paper, I felt an unfamiliar warmth spread through my chest. It felt like love. It felt like I had finally, after a lifetime of trying, been seen. The next 7 years were a masterclass in financial and emotional compartmentalization. I funneled over $280,000 into that property. The anonymous holding company, North Star Holdings, became a silent, invisible benefactor. The mortgage payment of $2,400 was automatically withdrawn from my account on the first of every month. I covered the biannual property tax bills, which ballooned with each passing year. When a winter storm damaged the roof, I paid the $15,000 for the repair. When a crack appeared in the foundation, I covered the $25,000 bill for the underpinning. I even paid for the weekly landscaping service, a luxury they had never been able to afford even when my father was employed. Meanwhile, my own life remained modest. I drove a sensible car, lived in a practical apartment, and meticulously saved and invested the rest of my income. My family saw my comfortable but unflashy lifestyle as evidence of my struggle to get ahead in a competitive field. They had no idea that a significant portion of my salary was being diverted to maintain their illusion of financial stability. The illusion became their reality. About a year into the arrangement, Leo, who after another failed business venture funded by a loan from our parents that was never repaid, moved back into the family home. He took over the basement, living rent-free, his presence adding to the utility bills I was also subsidizing. My parents began to speak with a renewed sense of pride. They had weathered the storm. They were excellent financial managers. During my infrequent visits, they would brag to me about their fiscal prudence. "We've managed our finances so well. We're thinking of leaving the house entirely to Leo." My mother said one Thanksgiving, as I helped clear the table, "You already have your own place. Op, you're so successful. You don't need the family home. Leo needs the stability." Each mention was a small stab. I tried to remind my father of our agreement, gently, in private. "Dad, we need to talk about the house, about the deed," I'd say during a quiet moment. His reaction was always the same. He would become distant, evasive. "We'll talk about it later, son. Now's not the time." Then would come the guilt. "Don't be greedy. You have so much already. Your brother has had a hard time." I began to realize a terrifying truth. They weren't just forgetting my help. They were actively rewriting history. In the narrative they had constructed, they were the savvy homeowners who had successfully navigated a financial downturn. I was merely the wealthy, slightly detached son who never visited enough and didn't appreciate the value of family. My role as guardian angel had been erased from the script. I was a ghost, and they were living in a house I was haunting with my money. The breaking point, the moment the hero complex finally shattered, came 2 weeks ago. My parents called a family meeting. My heart, despite everything, leaped with a flicker of hope. This was it. After 7 years, my father was finally going to honor our agreement. He was going to come clean to my mother and Leo, and they were going to sign the deed over to me. I arrived at the house, my house. I thought, with a grim irony, to find a celebratory atmosphere. There were balloons in the living room. Leo was beaming. My mother, her face alight with excitement, stood up and clinked a glass. "We have a wonderful announcement," she declared. "Your father and I are officially retiring. We've bought a lovely little condo in Florida, and we're moving next month." A round of applause. I smiled, my stomach twisting into a knot. Then she turned to Leo, pulling a large ornate key tied with a red ribbon from her pocket. "Leo," she said, her voice thick with emotion, "you've had a hard few years, and we want to make sure you always have a solid foundation under your feet. We are so proud to be able to do this for you. We're signing the house over to you. It's fully paid off, so you'll only have to worry about your utilities and living your dream." The room spun. The air became thin. I stared at my father, who was steadfastly avoiding my gaze, choosing instead to applaud his son with a pained yet resolute expression. Fully paid off. I managed to ask, my voice a strangled whisper. My dad just nodded, his eyes fixed on a point on the wall just over my shoulder. "Yes," he said, his voice firm for the benefit of my mother and brother. "We've cleared the debts." Leo, holding the key like a scepter, smirked at me. The look on his face was one of pure, unadulterated triumph. "Don't look so jealous, Op," he said, his voice dripping with condescension. "Maybe if you spent more time with the family instead of working all the time, they'd like you more." I felt a cold, terrifying calm descend over me. The rage, the hurt, the 7 years of thankless sacrifice, it all coalesced into a single point of icy clarity. I gave my father one last chance. I moved to his side, away from the others, and whispered so only he could hear. "Dad, the memorandum, the taxes, the roof, the $280,000. He leaned in, his face inches from mine, his expression hard. "Let it go, son," he whispered back, his voice a low, urgent command. "He needs this. You don't. Don't ruin his day." That was the moment the hero died. Not with a bang, but with a quiet, venomous whisper. He wasn't just breaking a promise. He was telling me that my sacrifice meant nothing, that my security was expendable, and that my role was to perpetually fund the life of the favored son without acknowledgement or thanks. He was telling me to accept my place as the ghost. I didn't argue. I didn't scream. I didn't pull out the memorandum and expose his lie in front of everyone. I simply stood up, hugged my mother, congratulated my brother on his new home, and walked out the door. The performance was over. When I got home, I didn't pour a drink. I didn't punch a wall. I opened my laptop. My fingers moved with a calm, deliberate precision. I logged into the online portal for North Star Holdings, the faceless entity that had been the family's lifeline for 84 months. I navigated to the Recurring Payments tab. The mortgage for the family home was scheduled to be paid in 48 hours. I clicked the button, Cancel Autopay, but I wasn't finished. I called the insurance company. Speaking as the representative for North Star Holdings, I informed them that the primary residence of the property had changed and that I was withdrawing my premium coverage, effective immediately. The new homeowner would need to secure his own policy. Next, I contacted the county tax assessor's office. I filed a formal notice that the gift of the home from my parents to my brother was being contested. Based on a pre-existing financial stake in the property, this would trigger an immediate review and likely a massive unexpected tax bill for Leo. The final, most devastating piece of the puzzle was the mortgage itself. My father's lie that the house was fully paid off was a desperate attempt to avoid explaining where the money had been coming from for 7 years. I had only been paying the monthly installments. The principal balance, the massive underlying debt, was still there. There was still $115,000 owed to the bank, since the deed was now in Leo's name. The next mortgage statement for $2,400 would not be going to North Star Holdings. It would be going straight to Leo's email inbox, along with a notice of the lapsed insurance coverage and the impending property tax assessment. I checked Leo's public social media profile. His last post was a picture of him on the porch of his new house, popping a bottle of champagne. The caption read, "Hard work pays off. #blessed #homeowner." According to a mutual friend, he had approximately $400 in his bank account. My parents, I knew, had already put a non-refundable down payment on their Florida condo, draining their accessible savings. The safety net I had provided for 7 years was gone, and there was no one left to catch them. The call started this morning, exactly 48 hours after the family meeting. First, a series of frantic missed calls from my father while I was in a morning meeting. Then came the texts, "Dad, son, the bank sent an overdue notice. It must be a mistake with your company. Please fix it. Dad, Op, call me immediately. The insurance company canceled the policy. Dad, this isn't funny. You're killing your mother with the stress. Answer your phone." Then came the message from Leo. It was a video. He was in the kitchen of the house, his face puffy and red, tears streaming down his cheeks. He was holding up a flurry of papers. The mortgage statement, the tax notice. "You did this," he wailed, his voice cracking with a mixture of rage and self-pity. "You tricked us. You set us up. I'm going to be homeless because of you. You were always jealous of me." I watched the video twice. I felt nothing. The well of empathy had run dry. My response to them was a single, unified email. I attached a meticulously detailed spreadsheet. It had 84 rows, one for each month of the past 7 years. It listed every mortgage payment, every tax bill, every insurance premium, every repair. The final tally at the bottom was stark: $280,452.17. The body of the email was brief. Subject: regarding the house attached is a summary of my financial contributions to the property you now own. Leo: I am not taking the house back. You can keep it. You just have to pay for it now. My role as the family's secret benefactor is officially concluded. Do not contact me again. The calls have stopped. The silence is deafening. I imagine them sitting in that house, the decorative key looking a little less triumphant, the weight of reality finally crashing down. The golden child has finally inherited his kingdom, only to find it's a kingdom of debt. They say I'm the asshole, that I'm cruel for pulling the rug out from under them. But they don't understand. I didn't pull the rug out. I just stopped being the rug. I stopped letting them walk all over me. And for the first time in my life, that feels like being fine.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the story, click like and subscribe.